I will now declare the result of the election in Ward 3, Strongness and South Isles Ward. There are 3 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 2,233 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,157, giving a percentage turnout of 51.8%. There were 7 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 288. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was Graham Bevan, Independent, number of first preference votes 281. Mia Brodie, Scottish Greens, number of first preference votes 157. Rob Crichton, Independent, number of first preference votes 115. Lindsay Hall, Independent, number of first preference votes 175. James Stockham, Independent, number of first preference votes 353. Magnus Thompson, Independent, number of first preference votes 69, giving a total of 1,150. Obviously, the difference between that and the total number of the 7 papers rejected. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for Ward 3, Strongness and South Isles Ward. Graham Bevan, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected was stage 2. Lindsay Hall, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected was stage 6. And James Stockham, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected was stage 1. Of the ballot papers, the following were rejected and not counted on account of 7 on which the figure 1, standing alone, indicating first preference, is set opposite the name of more than one candidate. The ballot papers didn't have that. That is the outcome of the Strongness and South Isles Ward. And that's the declaration. Thank you for your attention. We'll keep you posted as we go through.
I'm James Stockham. I'm absolutely delighted to be returned to serve again on the Council for Strongness and the South Isles. I want to thank the public for voting for me, because you can't get to do that without their support, and I also want to thank my family particularly, because a lot of things are said during the election period that can be quite hurtful, but they have had to take that all on the chin, and I'm delighted now to see if we just can't get on with the work, because the work of a councillor never ends, and the whole opportunity to promote and to make Orkney something special is partly the work of the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, hello, I'm Lindsay Hall. I've just been elected for Strongness and the South Isles, which I'm very pleased about. I have a programme which I'm sure a lot of you reading Orkney News will have seen already. My programme is about investing Orkney oil money in Orkney in the first place. My ideas for this investment are investing in young people, investing in housing so that young people can get onto the housing ladder, investing in infrastructure like ferries and harbours, and generally bringing Orkney people into the focus of the council. Thank you.
The election in the Ward 6 North Isles Ward, there are 3 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 1,853 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,039, giving a percentage turnout of 56.1%. There were 10 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 258. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was Stephen Claxton, Independent, number of first preference votes 256. Sebastian Hadfield Hyde, Independent, number of first preference votes 50. Paul Rendell, Independent, number of first preference votes 76. Melissa Thompson, Independent, number of first preference votes 204. Heather Woodridge, Independent, number of first preference votes 443, giving a total of 1,029. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for the Ward 6 North Isles Ward. Stephen Claxon, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 2. Melissa Thompson, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 2. Heather Woodbridge, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Of the ballot papers, the following were rejected and not counted on the account of on which the figure 1 standing alone indicating first preference is set opposite the name of more than one candidate was not present, and also another one where it was written or marked which the voter could be identified, giving us, and also there was 3 which were unmarked and void for uncertainty, giving us a total of 10. That's the announcement for Ward 6. Thank you. Of the election in the Ward 5, East Mainland, South Ronaldsay and Bury Ward, there are 3 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 2,664 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,351, giving a percentage turnout of 50.7%. There were 7 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 337. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was James Moore, Independent, number of first preference votes 111. Eric Page, Scottish Greens, number of first preference votes 195. Rami Peace, Independent, number of first preference votes 642. Julie Rickards, Independent, number of first preference votes 118. Gillian Skuse, Independent, number of first preference votes 278, giving the total of 1,344. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for the Ward 5, East Mainland, South Ronaldsay and Bury Ward. James Moore, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 5. Rami Peace, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Julian Skuse, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 2. Of the 7 ballot papers rejected, 1 was rejected on which a number standing alone is not placed so as to indicate a first preference for some candidate. 4 rejected on which the figure 1 standing alone indicating a first preference is set opposite the name of more than one candidate. That was obviously missing. And finally, 2 which is unmarked or which were unmarked or void for uncertainty, giving a total of 7. That's the announcement of the result. Thank you.
My name's Maya Brody. I stood in Strongness in the South Isles, and my main issues were affordable housing, fuel poverty, and general kind of inequality in the ward. I think today has been incredible. The support I've received throughout my campaign has been utterly immense, and I'm so thankful for everyone who has ever supported me. You know, all the other candidates have been so nice and so welcoming. Thank you so much.
I'll declare the result for the election in the Ward 4, West Mainland Ward. There are 4 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 3,633 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,851, giving a percentage turnout of 50.9%. There were 18 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 367. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was Rachel Ann King, Independent, number of first preference votes 477. Sean Lewis, Independent, number of first preference votes 64. Jean Stevenson, Independent, number of first preference votes 284. Owen Tierney, Independent, number of first preference votes 554. Duncan Tulloch, Independent, number of first preference votes 237. Helen Woodsford Dean, Scottish Greens 217 first preference votes. That gives us a total of 1,833. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for the Ward 4 West Mainland Ward. Rachel Ann King, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Jean Stevenson, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 3. Owen Tierney, Independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Duncan Tulloch, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 5. There were 18 rejected ballot papers, 1 rejected on the basis on which a number standing alone is not placed so as to indicate a first preference for some candidate. There was 14 on which the figure 1 standing alone indicating a first preference is set opposite the name of more than one candidate. And finally, 3 which were marked, unmarked or void for uncertainty, giving the total of 18. That's the announcement or declaration of the result of the West Midland Ward. Thank you. West and Orkney Ward. There are 4 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 3,630 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,553, giving a percentage turnout of 42.8%. There were 10 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 309. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was Beverly Clubley, independent, number of first preference votes 159. Sandy Cowie, independent, number of first preference votes 250. Barbara Fuchs, independent, number of first preference votes 155. Christopher Lees, Scottish Greens, number of first preference votes 211. Leslie Manson, independent, number of first preference votes 320. Leslie Sinclair, independent, number of first preference votes 175. Ivan Taylor, independent, number of first preference votes 252. Cameron Whittle, independent, number of first preference votes 21, giving a total of 1,543. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for the Ward 2, Kirkwall West and Orford Ward. Sandy Cowie, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 5. Christopher Lees, Scottish Greens, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 8. Leslie Manson, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Ivan Taylor, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 5. That's the declaration of the result for Kirkwall West and Orkney Ward. Your attention, please. I will now declare the result of the election in the Ward 1, Kirkwall East Ward. There are 4 councillors to be elected. The electorate was 3,700 and the number of ballot papers received was 1,700, giving a percentage turnout of 45.9%. There were 6 rejected ballot papers. The quota of votes for a candidate to be elected was 339. The number of first preference votes for each of the candidates was David Dawson, independent, number of first preference votes 285. Stephen Heddle, independent, number of first preference votes 428. Graham MacDonald, independent, number of first preference votes 92. John Roscott, Scottish Greens, number of first preference votes 476. Gwenda Shearer, independent, number of first preference votes 413, giving a total of 1,694. After application of the election rules, I declare that the following are elected as councillors for the Ward 1, Kirkwall East Ward. David Dawson, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 2. Stephen Heddle, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. John Roscott, Scottish Greens, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Gwenda Shearer, independent, stage at which candidate was elected, stage 1. Of the adjudication of the rejected ballot papers, there were 6. 1 on which a number standing alone is not placed so as to indicate a first preference for some candidate. There were 5 on which the figure 1 standing alone indicating a first preference is set opposite the name of more than one candidate. That brings us to the conclusion of the declaration of the results. And again, congratulations to you all for those who have been successful. And again, I would like to thank you all for the manner in which the whole process has been conducted. It's been very helpful, very much appreciate that. And by way of my final thanks, I would like to thank my Deputy Returning Officers, Karen Graves and Gareth Watterson, along with all my election team and staff, colleagues in the Council. An extra special thanks, as always, must go to Fiona Ratta and Audrey Watterson for their exceptional contribution in making the whole election process a success. I also wish to express my thanks to the electoral registration team, Police Scotland and the Fujitsu team, who have played a significant part in delivering the count here in Kirkwall. I appreciate that many of you have invested countless hours in what you believe in, and you must be exhausted, and as always, our team certainly are too. And I'd like to thank you all for attending the count and for your patience during the count process. Many thanks and good afternoon.